Hello, I'm Professor Lieu. Welcome to our video. I am now doing virtual office hours every Friday at 1 o'clock, and it's great because actually a lot of you have been telling me that our 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time streams are in the middle of the night for you. So hopefully these 1 o'clock p.m. streams, we can get more of you on the other side of the planet in on our live streams. If you would like to grow as an artist, or if you're trapped indoors, like pretty much the entire world right now, we've got everything you need here at ArtProf, critiques and tutorials. And if you have not seen it yet, we have a brand new section on artprof.org called Teaching and Learning Art Online. We've got all of our information that has been tweaked and converted to fit the coronavirus situation. For example, we have a page here on art prompts that can be easily done with very few art supplies. We've got information on home art supplies if you cannot get access to an art supply store. And also for teachers, lots of tips about how to run critiques, mistakes to avoid when teaching online. I hope you guys will take advantage of that situation. Today's open office hours, which means you guys can drop in and pick my brain, ask me anything you want. However, I was thinking today, because I'm putting together these resources for my RISD students, that I would show you guys how I'm organizing my class. Because I did do a bunch of streams last week about general tips for how to teach studio art online. I talk about different mistakes that you want to avoid if you're a teacher. And I also ran through a lot of options for how to critique art online. But I think this will be interesting for all of you because in those previous videos, I just go through all the options. I say, here's what you can do. But what I'm going to show you today is what I'm going to do with my students at RISD. So this is my version. It's not going to work for everybody. It depends on the age group. It depends on the program, how many students you have. And so this is very particular to my class and school and situation. But I thought it might be helpful for some of you to see what I chose. Pennington's asking, will I be streaming tonight or is this the stream for today? Okay, good question, because normally we stream almost every night at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. However, I have been tacking on these 1 o'clock p.m. streams on Friday for my RISD students, just so they can drop in and say hello to me. And I figure everybody else can also gain from that as well. So if you see us streaming at 1 o'clock, sometimes we'll stream in the evening as well. It depends. I would say go to our events page, which is on artprof.org. Just click on live streams and lectures, and you will be able to see our stream schedule there. Okay, now what I'm going to do for my RISD class, first of all, let me just explain what the class is so you guys understand what the context is. So this is at RISD. It's in the illustration department, and the class I'm teaching is Drawing 2, the Articulate Figure, and it's a required class for sophomores in illustration, focusing specifically on the human figure, things like anatomy, placing the figure in space. I've taught this class several times before. Every time I tweak it a little bit, but some of the things I do like to cover in terms of content is not just anatomy and gesture drawing and all that stuff, but, and this is very odd to say, but actually drawing people with clothes on, because at RISD we do a lot of life drawing with nude models. But I find that by the time people get to sophomore year, they really have not had the opportunity to draw people with clothes on. So I do make that part of the curriculum. And I also really try to push students to learn to draw in color, because that's another thing that a lot of people oftentimes are not getting freshman year. So those are two directives that I do try to do. And what I did was I put together a page on artprof.org in the Teaching and Learning Art Online section that's specifically for my class. So if you guys want to take a look at it, you can see everything that I'm going to tell you about in the stream today, about how I structure it. I will not be sharing the actual handouts because I don't think that's okay for me to do that. That's specifically just for my class, but you can see how I'm actually structuring it, but I'm not going to post the actual handouts online. But the thing that I wanted to talk about is just how I'm going to start the class again, because at RISD, we actually have been on spring break for a little while. And I really also just wanted people to have time to transition and get home or wherever it is that they're going. But I was talking to a student the other day, and they actually suggested, maybe it would be a good idea for you to have just an emotional class check-in, a group call, not to talk about the course or about what's due, but just to talk to the students and see how they're feeling. Because what I've discovered from looking at lots of content online with lots of teachers is that, for good reason, teachers are very focused on getting their handouts and all the stuff together for running group calls and things like that. But I do think that we also need to allot time to see how the students are doing, because this is a really unprecedented situation. I have never seen anything like this at all in my life. And I can't imagine what it's like to be 19 years old and trying to do art school through all of this. And so I just want to check in with them and see how they're doing. So we're going to do that this weekend. And I told them that it's optional. They don't have to come. It's a drop-in call, so they can come hang out for 5 minutes and leave. They can come stay the whole time. It's super flexible. So that way they have the opportunity to come chat with me about whatever they want. Great. So glad to have all of you guys here. Those of you who are watching, feel free to pick my brain about anything if you guys have questions, but I do want to go over how I'm going to be structuring my class so that way other teachers just can see how other people are doing it, because I find that even if what I'm doing isn't necessarily a perfect fit for your class, it's just still interesting to see how other people are running their classrooms. Now, in my RISD class, I am very much using Google Drive as home base. Any content I give to the students, whether it's a homework assignment or a slideshow or information about course policies, it's all in Google Drive. I'm really trying to not put content anywhere else, because I just find when there are too many places or teachers are giving information in an email, it gets lost really fast. So Google Drive is really home base for my students. And what I'm going to be doing this weekend is just revising all of the course handouts. Normally, I have an assignments handout, one for materials lists, one which is schedule that says every week what we're doing. And I also have a syllabus which has course expectations and logistics. But these are all going to have to be updated, because now a lot of schools are going to pass fail. My email policies are completely different. What I'll do is I'll keep the old ones in the drive so people can reference them if they want, but I'll also have a new folder like what you see here, where I'm going to go in and just revise everything based on the new situation. Another important part of the drive is also going to be these student folders. So each student in my class has their own folder, and that's where I'm going to consolidate where they put all their homework assignments, all their classwork, all of it's going to go in their folder. And then I'm also going to be uploading audio critiques into these folders as well. So that way students can just get all their stuff in one place. So that'll be a good way for people to find things. And then I had this before the whole coronavirus situation started, but I always have my slideshows available for students to view. So typically speaking, in a normal class, I would have showed these slideshows during class and gone over them, but I have found it really helpful for students to have access to this later, because sometimes they don't know how to spell an artist's name, or maybe there's an image that they want to revisit. And so these are all there. I didn't have to do anything, which was actually sort of nice, but they're there for students when I give them the assignment. If they want a little bit of inspiration, they can access that there. And I also have slideshows that are specifically geared for the actual homework assignment, and then ones that are geared for the classwork. So that way I can direct students to particular resources as they need it. Homework assignments, I told the students that I was sticking to the same schedule. For example, because of spring break and everything that was going on, there were actually a bunch of homework assignments that we just skipped over because there just wasn't any time. And I just thought it would be a lot less confusing if we stayed on the same deadlines. So that way people aren't saying, oh, do we go back to the old one or do we do the new one? So we're sticking to the same schedule, but it's an assignments handout. And I'm just saying they're due every Friday, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I've made lots of adjustments. Any drawing media, any size. That's the handout. And then these homework assignments, we will be reviewing during a weekly Zoom critique. And I'm going to have 4 students per call. We're going to critique the homeworks. And that should work out pretty well. I'm very lucky that I only have 16 students this semester, so I actually can run it that way. It should be a better experience for the students. And for classwork is totally different now. It's just life drawing. Guys, 2 hours, draw human figures from life. Do not even think about drawing from photo. I will be so mad if you do that. If you can't find any other person to draw yourself. You can get a mirror, you can do hand sketches, you can do self-portraits, any drawing media in any size. By the way, those of you in the chat, are you guys finding time to draw from life? I am finding myself extremely, how should we say, distracted. As much as I am putting together all these streams and getting together the content for the students and everything, like I feel so all over the place right now in terms of my headspace. So tell me how you're feeling right now, because I was like, I usually am somebody who's pretty focused, but it's becoming very hard to stay on track, especially when I can't seem to adhere to my normal schedule of waking up at 6. Now I'm waking up at 9:30, which is to me just horrific. Anyway, for the classwork, I am not going to be doing group Zoom critiques. Instead, I will make an audio recording for each individual student on the work they pass in, and I will upload it to their student folder, and they can listen to it anytime they want. That, I think, makes things a little bit easier for me, so my whole week is not all scheduled Zoom calls, but they still get pretty substantial feedback because, wow, I can talk. If you just give me something, I can just keep going. It's no problem. All right. Now, for communication, I've got 2 different things. I've got Instagram, group chats, which we have for the whole class, and direct messages. So they can message me anytime they want because, wow, you guys do not check email, do you? If you guys are high school students or college students, tell me how often you check your email, because I'm just a little horrified by how infrequently you guys check your email, because I check my email like at least once an hour, if not more than that. Marianne is saying, I feel a bit all over the place too. I've been focusing on a commission, not drawing from life at all, planning on doing a self-portrait with a mirror though. Okay, good. I feel better that I'm not the only person who's feeling that way. Jake has been painting and drawing so much, I could make a whole new portfolio. Oh, that's great, Jake. I mean, if you are really able to get in some serious time and get some work done, that's fantastic. Let's see. Now, email rules. This is something I told my students earlier. I used to have these very strict rules about what students could email me about because otherwise I get completely flooded. Now I have new ones, which is just contact me anytime you want. I'll get back to you. And I tell students that with email, I am only going to send anything that I feel is a very important announcement, and I will be very picky about that. And anytime something in the drive gets updated, if I add a new sign-up form, if I change something in the schedule, I will do something with that. And then this is something that I really hope teachers make time for if they can. And I know that not everybody is able to do this. Maybe you have a lot of students, but making yourself available for one-on-one Zoom calls. I have set aside specifically times on Sunday that students will always know they can sign up for, but I'm telling them that I'm also available by appointment because, of course, some of them are different time zones and stuff like that. I have a sign-up sheet in Google Drive, and this is just a chance for them to have some one-on-one time because I know a lot of students are worried about that a lot of teachers seem very focused on the group calls and the group lectures, but they're worried that they're not going to have that one-on-one time so much. Pennington is saying, the only people I can get to sit for me for life drawing is my family. It's really hard right now with the whole social distancing thing. Well, I have a suggestion for those of you who want to draw from life. And this is as much for my RISD students as it is for everybody else. First of all, if you want to draw people from life and it's your family, they don't have to pose. And I think that's the thing that people get really hung up on, which is, oh, well, I need people to pose for me. But you don't. You can just find people doing their thing, whether they're typing on the laptop or playing video games, whatever it is they're doing, just draw them doing that. Because once you start asking people to pose, it becomes a whole thing and they feel like they're giving up all their time to help you. And then, at least for me, I feel like a little guilty about that, especially if it's a family member who would rather be doing something else. And I'll tell you guys, when people play video games, they don't really move very much. It's really quite impressive. Like, for example, this is a drawing that I did of my nephew. We were actually at a skating rink and he was taking a break and he was just playing a video game and he was eating Skittles and drinking Gatorade. And yeah, he was moving a little bit, but for the most part, he wasn't moving that much. And I do think it is helpful to know how to do life drawing when somebody's not posing for you. And so life drawing does not have to be so formal, it can be way more casual. And in fact, Lauren and I did a tutorial a little ways back where we did gesture drawings of her cats. Her cats totally did not sit still, but sometimes they did. Sometimes they were taking a nap or they were just hanging out a little bit. And I find it to be a very good challenge. So don't tell yourself you need somebody to pose for you. You don't. You just need to be a little more flexible because there is something to be said about learning to draw something which is not standing so still. Hi, Nathan. And Manu is saying, amazed by the difference between you and my art teacher in school. Yeah, well, I mean, I think teachers are so different from each other. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's good to see how different people organize their classes. And I know as a teacher, I learned so much from learning from multiple teachers. Like, I think I must have studied oil painting with at least 6 different professors. And every single one of them, I learned something different. And it was great because I think when you are in a situation and you only learn from one person or just one way to do it, it's not a very good way to see what's available. Because from those 6 painting teachers, I did not like everything that they taught me. I mean, certainly there were some things where I was like, yeah, I don't think that's really for me, but that's okay. I think it's just having the opportunity to see what's really available is the important thing. All right. And so, of course, I will also be having these virtual office hours on Fridays at 1 o'clock. And so you guys can feel free, pick my brain, tell me how you're doing about stuff, because I think that this is such a strange time and I'm really scrambling to put things together for people. On the other hand, though, I'm like really having a hard time keeping to a schedule. Like, I'm usually so regimented because of my kids. I have to be up at 6, make them lunch, walk them to school, go to the gym, do all those things. And now I'm like waking up so late. It's terrible. So I'm just like, oh my God, I need to figure something out. Because I think the issue is that for me, at least, I'm not somebody who gets a lot of sleep normally. And so here's this like crazy opportunity where, wow, I can actually sleep in more than once a week. And I'm like really wanting to take advantage of that so I can be a little healthier. On the other hand, though, wow, you don't get a lot of work done when you wake up at 10. It's quite different. And so I'm just trying to manage the scheduling part of it. I mean, if anything, I'm hoping that getting back to my RISD class, maybe that's going to give me some semblance of a schedule. I mean, I can't imagine it's going to be anything close to that, but maybe it'll give me something to stay accountable for, because it's just been this really free-form, crazy area of freedom that I'm not really used to, and it's a little bit unnerving. Amaris is saying, I'm not an art teacher. I do want to try to teach, and I know any videos that will point me in the right direction. So you're asking about what videos about teaching you want to know about, Amaris? I mean, I would say the area that we're preparing right now on artprof.org about teaching and learning art online, that's a good place to start. But wow, oh my God, I could have a whole other YouTube channel that's just about teaching art, because it's a lot. I mean, it's a really amazing profession, I think. But honestly, Amaris, the way that I really learned to teach was just observing someone else. If you can sit in on classes and watch other experienced teachers teach, that's how you learn. I mean, a lot of it you can get from colleagues and just getting tips. And actually, I ask my students all the time, I'm like, hey, would this work better for you? And that's a good way to learn. But really, you got to just watch somebody in action. That's how you really figure it out. And I don't know what type of teaching you want to do, but a lot of teaching, you have to do student teaching. For example, if you want to be certified to teach K to 12, and so it's a lot of hours in the classroom that you do have to log. Pennington is saying my sleep schedule's completely changed due to the virus. Normally, I go to bed around 12. Now I find myself staying up to 3. That is story of my life, Pennington, because here's the thing, like, I wake up much later than I should be waking up. And then I think, oh man, I got to compensate for all the time I lost this morning. And then I end up staying up really late until like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. But then because I stay up late, I end up sleeping in late. It's like a big problem. And usually the regular school schedule would totally whip my butt and I would get back on it. But I guess that's not happening right now. I have to figure this out. I think a lot of people are in a very similar situation where we're sort of losing all of those little moments that we have in our schedules that make things much more manageable in a lot of ways. Marianne is saying, I always go to bed at 3:30 anyway, so that hasn't changed. Wow. I used to do that for the longest time. That was my schedule. Guys, once you hit the age of 40, there are just some things you cannot do anymore, and that's one of them. Like in art school, I used to sleep nothing, and I would eat like Sour Patch Kids for lunch. Like you could totally get away with that when you're 19, but when you're over the age of 40, you just cannot anyway. But yeah, I think that a lot of people are really struggling with this right now because it's too much freedom, I think, for a lot of us. And I'm somebody who really craves routine and expectations. And I've been setting my alarm in the morning to get up early, and I just have not been really doing that very much. So I got to figure out something. I suppose I could make my students have a call at 8 a.m., but then that would be hard for them as well. So that's a little bit evil. I'm thinking I'm not going to do that. So we'll see what happens. By the way, tell me in the chat, how many of you guys have been setting up a home studio and how is that going? Because I actually did a stream last night with Layla Faye, who right now she is an MFA student at Yale. You guys should watch the stream. We had a really cool conversation and how she had to just get out of her school studio and transition to a home studio. I imagine that everybody is probably doing some version of that right now, trying to figure out how to reconfigure their space. I mean, for me, it's hard because my husband's working at home. I'm working at home. We're trying to get our kids to do some school stuff. And it's difficult because I don't have a studio space. Like I really am in this weird multi-purpose room that's sometimes storage, sometimes is for shoots, other times is for office stuff. It's really very, very confusing. So anyway, I hope you guys will check out this new section that we've put together because I know a lot of people are really wanting prompts. People want to know about how to organize their classes, how to get art supplies that are not at the art supply store. And I'm hoping within the next week or so that we get this really substantial up and running and I'll be able to send it out to everybody because I'm very excited about this section. Jake is saying, thank God I already have a home studio, but it's been very crowded and busy because that is where all my art is being done right now. That's a good thing though. I mean, busy is good. I feel like for me, it's strange. Like I did this tweet the other day where basically I said, well, I'm working all the time and I'm always busy, but somehow nothing's getting done and I'm still super backed up and yet I don't have anything making it so that that should be the case. Like I can't figure out this strange feeling of limbo that this coronavirus situation has really put on us right now. Pennington's saying, I've heard you mention art dares in some of your streams. What exactly are those? Oh, okay, great question, because we're going to announce that pretty soon, actually. So you can see here in this slide, It says March Art Dare. So if you guys go to artprof.org and you click on Art Dares, it's basically a monthly art challenge. So this month, the art challenge is to do a ballpoint pen piece. You can have other media in it as well. As long as it has ballpoint pen, it's eligible. And to enter, you just use hashtag ArtProfDare. You tag us on Instagram. You can also email it to me. You can post it on our Facebook page. But basically, everybody does the art dare, and it's really fun because you can see what other people are doing. And then at the end of the month, we review all the submissions and we give out prizes. It's really cool. You can have free art supplies that just show up on your doorstep. It's really fun. So I would recommend you guys do the Art Prof Dare because it's only, I think, a few more days until the end of the month. So basically the deadline's the last day of the month. And then on the first day of the month, we announce the new Art Prof Dare, which I'm very excited about April's. I think it's going to be a great theme. Mariana says that she has a big table with 2 wood boards on top. First level is lino cuts. Second level is drawing. Third level is painting. I just put the wood boards on top. But if I want to change levels on top of my bed, wow, that sounds like a really involved contraption. I'm so impressed by that. Yeah, people, you got to get creative with these home studios. You can't just throw things wherever. And it's really incredible what people make do with. Lorena says, I'm lucky to live in a big house, so I can use a spare room as a studio. That's terrific. And, oh, we missed this comment. M says, this makes me worried about how boring retirement life will be. Oh, sheesh. I actually have already told my husband, I'm like, I'm never retiring. I just can't. I would go insane. I'm going to have something going on. There'll be some form of teaching. The art will definitely be there all the time, but I just think like mindset wise, that's not gonna help me very much. So I've already made up my mind about that. Manu is saying, my new art teacher is giving us assignments that I wouldn't consider useful for myself. I started separating art for myself and for school. So I do the majority of my pieces at home in my room. That's fine, Manu. I mean, I think that is definitely common for a lot of students that their classwork really feels like it's almost in a different galaxy than the work that they want to do for their personal purposes. And that's fine. I mean, I think for some people, it makes more sense to divide things up that way. But I could also see that there's advantages to maybe letting some of those worlds collide a little bit more. It really depends on the teacher, it depends on the assignments. But if it helps you to create those little spaces, sometimes that can make things a little bit more manageable because don't you guys find that the whole thing about this whole situation, it's all about the headspace. It's like, I know I have the setup I need to do what I need to do, but it's like in my head, I can't get it organized just yet because it's just so weird. Like even things like my daily workout routine is shot because I used to go to the gym every day for like an hour and a half and I had this really particular routine and now that is gone and I'm just trying to figure out how to reorganize that because oddly enough, my exercise routine really impacted my work routine in my headspace quite a bit. Uncle Frog is saying, wow, you managed to catch a live stream. Thank goodness for these office hour streams. Much better time for the UK. Yeah, actually, we discovered that because I don't know if you guys saw, but a few weeks ago, we did a 9-hour live stream. It's called the Portfolio Critique Marathon. You can find it on our YouTube channel. Yes, we're insane. But what was so funny about that marathon live stream, because we were live for 9 hours, we could see different waves of parts of the world coming in. Because I remember there was this one period where all of a sudden, for about a half an hour, there wasn't a lot of activity. And I thought, oh, this must be everybody in the US going to bed. And then all of a sudden, a half an hour later, all these people from Europe started waking up. It was really funny. People were like, I'm in Finland. I just woke up. It was the coolest thing. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do these 1:00 p.m. streams, because we are going to catch a lot of people that normally our regular 10 p.m. stream time is just not feasible. So thank goodness that I can catch some of you guys, because it is really fun to be able to interact with you in real time. Pennington is saying, the virus really sparked my artistic excitement. Whenever I'm not painting, I'm watching videos on art, a lot of which are your videos. Well, thank you, Pennington. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, a lot of people have said to me, Yep, now I have an excuse. I can just binge watch your videos and not worry about it. Because it's true. In New England, where I live, the weather is not that great all the time. And so if you live in Massachusetts and there's actually like a beautiful sunny day, you actually feel really guilty if you don't go outside. And so you can't just say, oh, I'm going to just stay inside and watch YouTube. You feel bad about that. And so now we're like, hey, no excuse. We can do whatever we want and not worry about really wasting that time that we could be outdoors doing something. Manu is saying, I have a home gym, started working out more, but sadly, I don't have motivation to draw or paint lately. I think it's very much a odd time for a lot of people. I think that part of me really wants to scramble and get content out to help teachers and students, but I'm also just having trouble focusing because everything just took a total abrupt stop. And I think for a lot of people, what's harder too is the emotional side of it, like just everything coming to such an abrupt stop. And some of the newspaper articles that I'm reading are quite unnerving. Like there was one I read yesterday about how the lockdown is affecting people who suffer from domestic violence. And I just like all of these things are just making my head explode all the time. Greta Fisher is saying, yay, I don't have to be awake at 4. I wish I could draw more, but I easily get unmotivated to do it. It's hard. I mean, I think it's the lack of structure. It's like, I used to know that, okay, every day at 5 o'clock, I would turn on NPR, listen to Ari Shapiro and All Things Considered, and cook dinner. And I'm still sort of doing that, but the grocery shopping thing is also messed up as well. And so I'm having a hard time just balancing all those things out, and everything seems to affect everything else. So that's what's very hard. Edward is saying, could you give me a tip for portrait painting with oils? Okay, well, I can't give you everything you need to know, obviously, but my first thought, Edward, is if you have not done this before, try this. This really helped me when I started painting portraits. I did a palette knife portrait. Basically, what you do, you put aside all your brushes and you only mix and paint with the palette knife. And for me, it was really helpful because I think the hardest thing about painting a portrait, it really is in the colors because flesh tone is so subtle and so sophisticated. And I just found that when I put the brush aside and I just painted with the palette knife, I really focused on color. And it's hard to paint with a palette knife. A palette knife is a very awkward tool. So when you apply it to the canvas, it does feel too big and really klutzy, but that's not what it's really about. It's really about the color. And so I found that to be a great exercise to try. And then once you've done a couple of those and you've really been able to see the color, then you bring the brush back and it makes a lot more sense. Isa is saying, I've been painting every single day while listening to my classes online. Hey, if you can do it, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I think that makes a lot of sense. In Chick is saying, you're awesome. I have many layers of work on top of each other on my desk. Layer 1 for teaching design, layer 2 for teaching drawing and archaeology. I'm now getting inundated with way too much information. I need a quiet day to turn off everything and actually do the work. You're right, 24/7 is a bit overwhelming. Yep, I mean, just all the safeguards that I had in my schedule before to make sure that I didn't do stupid things like watch YouTube for too long, they're gone. Like I need to figure out new safeguards to put in my schedule so that way things don't get completely messed up. Pennington is saying it's kind of annoying how the weather was rainy and cold before the virus, but now that we can't go outside, the weather is sunny and wonderful. They did say in the news that it's okay to go for walks. You just have to keep a 6-foot distance from people. And I guess it depends on where you are. Some places that's easier to do than others, but I am trying to get out every day. It's just, I really need to get out sooner, like say before 10, as opposed to 4 o'clock in the evening, which I should not do. Jake says, I used to like paint every day to not paint for 6 to 8 months, never kept a schedule with that. And now that I'm home, I paint every day since I've been home 24/7. Wow. It's so interesting to me how for some people, this is like a really great opportunity in a way to just hunker down and see what's going on. And the thing is, I'm used to working from home. This is not new for me. It's just that the whole structure of going to campus once a week and seeing students and then coming back and regrouping. Like I don't have that rhythm anymore. Like I'm just here all the time. And that I think is killing me a little bit. Like not having those days to, okay, just be not on my laptop whole day, talk to students, focus on them, come back. I don't feel like I have that recharge moment that I need in the classroom. Greta saying I live in Italy. I only got out once a day with my dog and that's it. Oh my gosh, you're in Italy, Greta. I cannot believe the news that's coming out of Italy. It just, oh my God, it just breaks my heart when I read about what they're dealing with over there. So Halicious saying there's me watching Netflix, playing games instead of drawing. Oof. Yep. I would guess that there are a lot of people doing that as well. And Uncle Frogface says Neil Gaiman says about writing time, you can write or you can do nothing, but you can't do anything else. That's great. I really like that. It's so accurate. It works for art too when you're adjusting to working from home. Wow, very cool, guys. Thanks so much for coming by to hang out. I love connecting with all of you, especially those of you who don't normally catch us at 10 o'clock. Jake says, high school really gets in the way. I never get time to just draw plain and simple. Now I am just taking all my time for it. Oh, that must feel good. Yeah, because I remember being in high school and just being like, oh, stupid French test. Like, you just don't want to be bothered. And now you really do have a chance to focus on your artwork. I hope you guys will explore artprof.org. We've got some really cool areas over there. The new guide to teaching and learning art online is really fun. Lots of new content there. And I hope you will subscribe to our channel and join the Art Prof family. We're all in this together. And thank you so much to our top Patreon supporters who make all of this possible. We are streaming again tonight at 10 o'clock. We are doing a critique, so don't miss that. Thank you so much, you guys. Stay safe. I will see you next time.